Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are waiting for our guests to join us in another 5 minutes. Please request all of you to have patience till then. We'll begin this session shortly. Once we begin the session, viewers, you can all post in your questions, actually, queries. We'll take them live with our domain expert who's on the session today. So please feel free to post in your queries. We'll also take up all the queries that you guys have mailed to us while registering. So everything will be answered. Please feel free to post in whatever queries you have. We'll try answering them, take them one by one and answer them all. Hi, Vedya. You are on mute. I'll just unmute you. Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Good morning.
Good morning. So, viewers, we have our guest. Let's begin this session actually formally. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll welcome you to the eighth episode of education series this today morning, which is Nivesh Karbefakar, presented by India's largest online insurance innovator and advisor, PolicyBazaar.com. So today we thought let's talk about something that is new in terms of innovations, right? So the spotlight is on insurance innovations catering to consumer needs. So you all would agree that in the last few months, ever since COVID-19 outbreak has happened, we all have been forced to rethink our regular daily lives, basically, be it education, be it entertainment, or be it any kind of payments. So what we have seen is that the way things were done until the start of this year and the way things are being done now, it has changed completely and drastically, basically. So with restrictions on travel, closure of offices, recommendations to stay at home whenever possible, almost each one of us has started switching to digital tool for uh, any kind of engagement in our daily lives this time, basically. So believe it or not, this pandemic has forced us to move towards digital tools, which will surely anchor the future from here on. So now, friends, for the benefit of you guys, for the benefits of customers, the insurers, and obviously IIDA has to okay and pass these rules. We have come up with a lot of innovations in the insurance industry so that you guys can avail maximum benefit of the insurance products amidst this ongoing pandemic. Some of the key innovations we'll be discussing in today's webinar will be around the video-based KYCs, e-KYCs for buying new insurance policies, issuing policy through digital signatures and a one-time password, making digital payments, introduction of telemedical for that matter, and basically availing whatever customers can to make their lives easier. So we welcome our domain expert for this session, head of product and innovation, Vedyanathan Ramani, who is here to solve all your queries. So please feel free to post your questions when we carry on this discussion. Vedya, coming to you. A
Yes.
very good morning.
Yeah. Good
And
morning.
yeah, so please let's start with a small brief from your side on what all help the IIDA has, advised that the insurance ecosystem comes up and caters to the customers. What all innovations have happened in this 3-4 months time so far?
Yeah. Um, uh, first I would kind of look at the whole fact that innovation is not something that the regulator has only looked up in these last 3, 4, 5 months of pandemic. I think that has obviously triggered a set of reactions and actions from the regulator to enable the industry to cater to the customer needs right now. But innovation has generally been something that has been the focus area for the industry per se, as well as the regulator, for quite some time. We probably will discuss about that slightly later. But
Sure.
looking at specifically what has happened since end of March, when the country has been thrown into this COVID scenario,
Hmm.
I would broadly look at from an insurance perspective. I think the innovations or innovations changes, if I can use the right word, have been
Hmm.
focused on three key areas. Now, in any insurance policy, I would believe there are three key areas for a customer to be interacting for usage of that policy. So the first and foremost is, what is the product all about? What's the coverage all about? Does it cover what has happened in the world? Does it cover the kind of scenario that we are facing? Can it be enhanced? Can it be changed? Can it be tweaked? How early can it be? How late can it be? What is allowed? What is not allowed? All of this forms the domain of what we call the product construct and coverage itself. The second area is, how can we go about getting this in ease, given that there has been a lockdown, there has been unlock, and still we are all maintaining social distances, and getting out of the house is still fraught with risk. How can the whole process of purchase be made seamless? Many of these tools are available prior to, but how can we bring them together to give the confidence to the customer that they can do it? The third
Correct.
aspect is the moment of truth at the point of service or claims. How can things be made more clear, more easy, and more transparent to the customer so that it is far more customer friendly given the kind of situation we are all facing? Something that probably even 8 months ago, none of us would have predicted would happen. So I'll go back to the three segments and kind of explain about what I've seen in the market happen.
Yeah.
The first and foremost is about the product itself, the coverage itself. While many of the base products were indeed designed for coverage of some of these scenarios, and if we treat what COVID has brought about as infections, the regulator moved in swiftly to kind of instruct all in the entire market to give coverage to COVID-related incidences, be it health or be it life. The regulator swiftly moved to say that whatever policies are existing, they will continue to cover under this scenario, regardless of what, from a very technical point of view, from a worldwide point of view, some of these events are treated as pandemics, etc.
Correct.
I think the regulator first did is to kind of quell that confusion by saying that they would expect the market to honor the customer's need at this point of time. And should there be any COVID related hospitalizations, they will be covered under the normal policy, under whatever are the normal terms and conditions under which they were sold.
Circumstances.
Yeah. The second thing that they did, given that there was a certain need in the market, and this is a very specific need, very transient need that came up, is the regulator has also enabled creation of specific COVID-specific coverage policies, be it on an indemnity basis or on a fixed benefit basis. Both of these policies were crystallized and have been successfully launched. They have been quite made available in the market for quite some time now, and they bring about a lot more flexibility that the traditional policies and their limitations may have been. I'm using a very broad way, may because I think most of the market would have still would continue to benefit from the base policies that are available and are probably far more broader in their coverage. But should there be segments that are only willing to take this particular scenario and are have other constraints that they would like to address, then these specific products made sure that those segments can also be addressed, and there would be no customer who would be left untouched without without coverage being available should he or she want to have one.
Correct.
Now let's go to the second stage of what I described, the whole process of purchasing this. Now, even if the products are available, how can the processes be made more easy? First and foremost, again, during this pandemic, again, while I say some of these, while I indicated before too, some of these processes have been there before too, but I think they've got the right focus and right expansion at this point in time, given that we are in the scenario.
Yeah.
The market as well as the regulator have quickly moved in to make the whole process of purchase far more digitally enabled. Now, when I say this, let's go through what a typical purchase process entails and how what kind of confidence that customers require to do so. You look at a product, you want to buy a certain plan, you've decided let's say you want to buy health insurance, you want to have fair amount of information available and a objective advisory given to you that makes you have the right choice. Today there are digital tools available across the market that one can rely on. Policy Bazaar is a great example to quote that as well. Now, once you made the decision to buy, the payments must be seamless. You should have clean payment systems that can help you make the payment and get the next stage evoked. Those are again fairly stabilized by this point in time. We have very stable payment systems across. The third stage is, should there be any kind of underwriting or any regulatory requirements that require physical presence to be done? Now, I'll split these two into one is underwriting requirement, the other is about regulatory requirements about KYC, know your customer, etc. In both of
Correct.
these scenarios, the regulator has quickly and swiftly enabled the market to adopt digital outcomes. So, telemedicine, for example, tele-underwriting or telemedicine, as we call it, depending on the kind of usage the different insurers may have now become a reality. Now, under this process of purchase of insurance, customers need not, in most cases, need not visit or get visited by any physician, but simply they would be dialed in by a specified authorized physician by the set up by the insurer, who will then have a genuine conversation with them about their current conditions, a very free-flowing conversation about their state of health and what kind of medicines they may or may not be consuming and what kind of past incidences may have. And based on that, on most cases, would be able to take a call about issuance of policy right then and there, which means the customer doesn't need to ever step out and would be able to purchase the policy right there in majority of the cases. Next comes the whole process of regulation. Know your customer. Now, in that scenario too, something the regulator has thankfully enabled and has made sure the market can utilize that. Today, you have the eKYC norms re-enabled, which means customers can authorize that they exist. Know your customer is all about authorizing that you exist and you are indeed the customer who's in purchasing the policy. There
Hmm.
was a process previously available linked to Aadhaar that was temporarily suspended because of other reasons, but which under this current pandemic, the regulator has again enabled. So today, eKYC is possible by linking yourself to Aadhaar and closing the whole process of KYC that enables the policies to be purchased and issued faster. Further, regulator has now enabled what we are calling as video-enabled KYC process, where pretty much like a what would you do in a typical KYC? Insurer authorized person will visit you, will kind of meet you in person to see that you exist, and the documents that you submit are indeed representing you, right? Now, all of this in the digital scenario that we live in potentially can be done on a digital interlink as well. We are
So,
all doing this conversation on a
what would
very
you say as to how authentic a video or an eKYC can be? Like, is there
yeah,
any chance of fraud here? Are those thoughts are obviously coming to the minds of customers, right?
right.
So, what would you like to say on that? How would you like to assure the customers here?
Right. Today we are doing this whole webinar, seeing our faces on fairly strong digital networks that we have.
Correct.
The video KYC is pretty much an extension of this process. While I'm speaking, while you're speaking, what else is required to prove the fact that we exist as we exist today, right? And this is exactly where the process is also enabled. That somebody authorized by the insurer to do this process will set up a video link with the customer
Hmm.
and consequently validate the fact that the customer exists. This is over a video point. There are multiple ways to do so. Each insurer will kind of set up their own checks and balances to do so. And the simplest point is initiating a set of conversation to say that you react, which kind of proves the fact that you exist. And then this authorizer is also enabled and required to then check the documents that were submitted by you for your physical KYC as well as your identity, etc., against your actual presence on the video link. Now, as a balance, this entire process is also going to be recorded and is going to be available for anybody to later also audit,
Yeah,
removing the chance of any nexus or any mistakes that may happen.
correct,
It
correct.
should, in most, I would say, in most cases, therefore, as long as the video link is of fair quality that we are doing now, it is fairly possible to do this validation across a video link, and it
Correct,
should enable everybody involved in the process to do a fair process of, and that has
correct.
been enabled. So,
Yeah. So in terms of so everything is happening digitally these days, and Policy Bazaar is a major, big online player, right, in insurance selling. So what would you say? How are we working? As in, how are we making the lives easier for customers when they're buying online in today's time, post like the COVID time? Is there anything different from how things were earlier? So on that side, what would you say?
absolutely correct. See, for a platform like Policy Bazaar, the biggest and being somebody who's seen as leading the digital insurance revolution in the country, all the changes that we are talking about in a world where we are cocooned to move into digital space, everything that we speak about, if there is a platform that one has to look for and delivered, I would definitely recommend customers to use Policy Bazaar. So all the so far whatever developments we've talked about, the release of new products, specific COVID specific products, the whole process of enabling the transactions, right from the security of the transaction to the eKYC process to the video KYC process to the tele underwriting process that we spoke about,
Correct.
or the enablement of post sale process around services and claim requirements that the customer may require help on. All
All right.
these are today possible on a digital backbone, and
Correct.
somebody like Policy Bazaar has anchored themselves to be able to provide this to the customer. It's an end-to-end platform for the customer to be able to do, which means right from the point of solicitation where customers are looking for information to the point where customers after purchase of policy may require a service/claim request.
Correct.
Everything that we spoke about today is today enabled on the platform,
Yeah.
and
So
one does not need to move away from the platform to be requiring anything.
correct. So starting from the beginning of which policy to buy from, suggestions, basically recommendations, to the entire and completing the process, everything can be done in one go,
On
right?
the platform without leaving the platform, and that I think is the biggest enablement.
Yeah.
So choosing the policy, having the options across the market to choose what you would require, getting a fair visibility, and so on and so forth.
Correct. Also, it's a lot of hassle free for the customers, because at a time like this, when we are all working out of our homes, speaking to people and the different advisors for different things or agents, it becomes very confusing. You can't just meet people, and you need to trust them, right, when you speak to them. So this is more reliable. We have one question from Gautam Ghosh. He says, since there is no COVID specific health policy for the 65 plus, but IDA has directed that all health policies that include hospitalization would include COVID related situation. Is there any top up policy for us who are above 65 plus? I am 69, he says.
There are policies available for people who are above 65 too. The market is probably not as expansive as one would find up to 65. This is obviously based on the risk outcomes, etc. But there are fair amount of options available, and you should be able to find a lot of these on the platform as well. I'll kind of touch upon what you specifically said. It is indeed true that the normal health insurance policies that you hold will also cover COVID related hospitalizations. As I said, the regulator has clearly, right at the start of this pandemic, given clear instructions that the Indian insurers will honor the COVID claims as well. So, as long as the policy based conditions are tuned to support any kind of hospitalization. Now, most of the policies we sell in the Indian market are what we call indemnity policies. They are bound to support any kind of hospitalizations of at least 24 hours or more, and specified daycare treatments, etc. But as long as any COVID related complications leads to a hospitalization event of 24 hours or more, these base health insurance policies are equally valid, and they would be honoring the outcome as per the normal claims and terms and conditions that they have been sold with. So yes,
Correct.
there are fair options that are available for you as well. I would definitely recommend that if you're looking to expand, if you have a coverage that you feel is inadequate at this stage, you should look for policies to top up and keep your coverage higher.
Super top ups that are the ones that sell most, right? So I think they
They
will
would
be
be
the
the
best
better
option.
options to buy.
Yes.
They are far more efficient in terms of premium versus coverage increments that you get, and obviously would be the right choice.
Correct. Coming to my next question, Vedya. Given COVID, if I say it right, it's a blessing in disguise for the insurance industry. While many have been affected and it's not a great thing, but I think people have come to the realization how important insurance is in their kitty, right? Why should they have insurance? Today we have COVID, tomorrow we might have something bigger than COVID. So where do you see this insurance gap? Do you see this gap reducing for a country like India? How do you think, what is the customer mindset today? Do you see it changing for better reasons, basically?
I would put it this way: we are in a situation where the penetration of insurance for such products in the country is in single digits, fairly lower single digits. Therefore, there is a lot of space available for growth per se. There is only one way to go. This number has to only go up, because regardless of where you are and who you are, the need for protection against these unplanned events across death, disability, and disease is a reality for all of us, and can happen to any one of us at any point in time. So there is only one way to go. There is no doubt about the fact that the penetration will increase. What I see the COVID pandemic has brought about is that this has made us get to this realization point fairly quickly. In many
Correct.
ways, this has shown us that was the reality always. Across these death, disability, and disease, none of this is planned event. Nobody can. All of us are subject to the vulnerabilities of hitting one of these events hitting us without any warning. What the pandemic has shown that is that this unexpected events are indeed fairly unpredictable and can happen at any point in time, and at a scale that nobody can previously kind of plan for. So this has, in my view, just triggered that adoption faster. And I would like to believe that this experience kind of makes us all look at the fact that there are risks that we continue to carry every day. Today it's COVID,
Correct.
and it's going to be COVID for quite some time. But this is not the only risk that we are carrying. Even as we speak today, while and COVID have brought about a lot of deaths in the country, there are others too that have continued to plague the population.
Correct.
COVID probably, even as we saw the statistics some time ago across the market, COVID have probably, from an insurance perspective, only contributed about 1/10 of the events, which means there are other events too that are continuously happening around, none of which we plan for or have control of. So this is a continuous move. All of us have to continue to aspire to find ourselves coverage against these unexpected events. COVID is just what I call as a catalyst, and certainly what has brought this right in front of us to say indeed one needs to have this.
We have a question from V Deva. He's asking how to go about when I want to. Sorry, he says how to claim my policy in this pandemic situation. So basically, he's wanting to understand how to go about filing the claim.
Look, the process of filing a claim is as simple and similar as what you would have in a normal health claim policy. There is no change of process per se here. If you are holding any kind of indemnity covers, be it a normal health plan that you have had or a COVID specific plan that you've got, then all of these are dependent on the hospitalization. And once you've had the hospitalization event, either at the point of hospitalization, many hospitals today have cashless capability. The insurers have also extended this cashless capability. At the point of admission into one of these hospitals, you must be able to trigger that by giving them details about your policies or your beneficiary IDs. Should that not be possible, reimbursements are also continuously allowed. So post this hospitalization event, you just have to raise a claim like you would normally do for any other event, giving the insurer the details about the whole hospitalization and the discharge summaries and all the documentation that comes with it. These would be processed within the specified timelines by IRDA, and the money would be reimbursed as per the terms and conditions of the policy, just like any other normal claim. One does not need to fear that COVID brings about any specific requirements. These are very similar policies. Indemnity policies cover hospitalization. So as long as you've had a hospitalization under COVID, you are eligible for these benefits, and you should submit these claims in the normal way. Initiate a claim with the insurer; they will guide you around the documentation. There are also many intermediaries that can help you in this process, coordinate with you. And once these documents are submitted, the validations will happen and the reimbursements will happen to your bank account straight.
All right. Okay, that is very helpful. V Deva, we hope we have helped you with the answer. I have another question from Sampat Mala. She says, what are the items not included in the claim for COVID affected patients? Like I had a PPE kit which was not included, and tell me how much is the ICU charge can be claimed. So basically, she's asking, yeah.
All right. So
Yes.
this is a question which is going to be a little subjective here. So I'll start with each of the points raised here. Um, a normal health insurance policy, if you're a holder of a normal health insurance policy that covers all risks, including COVID, then they come with a certain terms and conditions. By default, a lot of these policies have been drawn up to pay for most of what you see in a hospitalization event. But the certain things like disposables, gloves, etc., are excluded. These are built for prudency in the policy and have been based on past experiences. Now, consequent to extension of these, specifically because you asked about PP kits, PP kits get constituted under this classification of disposables and the broader condition we are talking about. Consequently, by terms and conditions, if you're holding a normal policy, then they get excluded. However, I will definitely add this. While these are on policy excluded, I have seen practically cases of most of the insurers in the market being far more sympathetic to the customer need and consequently accepting and adopting to pay some of this. And that is you should check with your specific insurer in this case. I will definitely claim that much of the market and the insurers have come to the aid of the customers, despite the policy terms and conditions originally being drawn up to not consider these. Many insurers are continuing to honor some of this, and you must specifically check that with your insurer on your specific policy. The second aspect about the second aspect was about
The ICU charge.
IT charges. Again, that depends on the policy. Now, there are two different kinds of policies in the market that have either specific fixed payments with regard to the kind of room that you select to have the hospitalization in, and they may have different clauses around ICU payments. Many policies in the market do not carry this separate distinction between ICU and non-ICU and continue to pay for the policies in whole. So I'll give an example. If you, let's say, have a single private room kind of coverage allowed in your policy, then they normally do not differentiate between ICU charges and non-ICU charges and would continue to get covered. Whereas some of the policies have specific limits around, let's say, I'm using an example. These limits can be anywhere. Some policies, let's say, give a limit of about 3,000 per day for a normal room and doubling it up to 6,000 per day for an ICU. And those cases specifically, then you are bound by a limit of 6,000 per day on the ICU. and should the ICU be utilized for you, that is a limit the policy has been drawn upon, and therefore they will continue to honor to that limit because those are the terms and conditions under which they were sold.
Correct.
Also, going back to the old questions of PPEs, etc., the corona specific policies that have been issued in the market consequent to the pandemic setting in, now they are far more open and explicit about coverages to PPE. So if you have a corona specific policy, then by policy terms and conditions, they do cover the offer a fair amount of coverage on the PPEs as well. So they definitely do cover on this PPE front at least.
Right, right. We have another question from Mr. Deva himself. He says that I already have health insurance. Will it cover me against COVID-19 treatment? And what is the ideal sum insured that I should go for? No, what is the ideal sum insured that one should have not to face any problem during treatment?
Yes, the answer to the first question is your normal health policy covers you for COVID related outcomes as well, as long as there is a hospitalization. The policy covers any kind of hospitalization, be it COVID, non COVID. So, a normal plan is probably beneficial in the sense you are covered for all kinds of risks, including COVID. Now, coming to the second part of the question around will
What is the sum insured?
that you will have to take. So there are, there is no one answer that can give a conclusive outcome. We will. I would kind of recommend that the normal experience around what we have seen on COVID is that there are range of experiences of people getting hospitalized and paying anywhere from a lakh to even as high as 20 lakhs or 25 lakhs in some cases, based on comorbidities, etc. Now, while one cannot probably look for a singular answer for all of us, the general guidance principle I may use here is if you are a fairly healthy person who has no existing comorbidities, you don't have any existing complications of diabetes or any of asthma or thyroid or any kind of complications already existing, or you've not had any serious surgeries in the past, or you don't have any have not had any major illnesses in the recent past, then based on your condition, the expectation here, again, I'm using a broad term here, expectation is that should you be infected with COVID, you probably will not have a very serious outcome, and consequently a fair amount of coverage should be enough to help you get out of and fight back against COVID. In such scenarios, I would generally recommend a minimum sum insured of 5 lakhs is essential, despite all the because COVID cases can kind of get you into the hospital for long enough that a minimum of 5 lakhs is something I would give as a guidance. If you can afford to take, and if you're especially in the metros where the hospital charges are high, I would say that minimum guidance would be at least 10 lakhs. If you can afford any amount above these, then it would just give you more assurance that you would be covered. But these would be my general guidance to go for a minimum coverage at this point in time. If you have comorbidities or any of those other conditions that I mentioned, then you should look for definitely much larger coverages. And depending on what we've seen in the market, the kind of exorbitant costs that we've seen, I would say then you should look for fairly high coverages, as high as possible. So coverages of even 25, 30, 50 lakhs may be prudent in those cases depending on your particular condition.
So the 1 crore covers comes really cheap, right? We have
That is
launched with so many insurers. So definitely that's a good bet given the current situation. And we've also seen a rise from basically it was 4% and now it's 30% to which these 1 crore plans are being sold. So
Absolutely correct. If you are looking for one stop to say that's something that would cover you without having to make that decision of what is essential for you, then the 1 crore plans are the best way. They are available today at a fairly affordable cost. Almost everyone of us can afford it if you are looking at a health insurance. That would kind of give you complete assurance. It's quite rare to find any case that would exceed that kind of sum insurance. That should give you the kind of complete assurance to go through this period of COVID that we are facing.
COVID-19. Absolutely. We have another question coming in from Sandeep Kaushik. He has to say that if I buy a health insurance, he wants to understand actually, if I buy a health insurance policy, there will be a waiting period of 30 days to cover me against COVID. Why is that so?
Yes. So the waiting period of 30 days was not drawn up to actually handle COVID. This is the base waiting period that was drawn up in the policies that existed in the market previously as well. The whole reason the waiting period was set up is this is a bit of a market setup that has continued to work. It's a balance between offering something that's fairly customer friendly in the market against something that makes the customer go through a lot more medically underwritten process. So if I let me just elaborate a little bit. There are whenever a health insurance policy is being issued in the market, if you look at across the world, many parts of the world actually go through a fairly strong underwriting process where the customer's current health condition is fairly examined before the policy is issued. In the Indian market, where we've seen, thanks to kind of friendly insurers we have and the kind of process they've put in place and the regulator enabling this, the processes have been fairly customer friendly. In order to buy a health insurance policy today, for most of us, we don't need to do anything beyond simply declaring our current health condition, and the policy is immediately issued. Now, as a balance against this process, an initial waiting period was introduced a fairly long time ago and has continued to be an established process to kind of give the balance so that people do not purchase health insurance and lead to a situation where people purchase health insurance and kind of immediately make a claim out of it. And that has continued. This is not a 30-day window of waiting period, has not been drawn up for corona specific condition now. It is an extension of what we've seen in the past. Also, I would add, specifically against corona, many insurers have gone ahead and taken permission from the regulator to bring down that waiting period. There are insurers today who are able to bring that waiting period down to 15 days. You should specifically check on that. A platform like Policy Bazaar will definitely help you. The corona specific policies that have been issued by the regulator come with a lower waiting period. So definitely they are also the other option that you have. Should this 30-day waiting period be a concern for you?
Correct. We have another question from Bhavik Prajapati. He says, "Dear Sir, Madam, okay, I live in Surat city. Is rupees 5 lakh sum insured mediclaim of health insurance sufficient or not in Surat city?" So basically, he wants to understand for us
Yeah.
according to his city. Yeah.
I would say if you are looking to decide your coverage and you have the option to pick your coverage today, please go for the 1 crore coverage. They are fairly affordable. Even if you're in Surat and the kind of prices that we see today, they are fairly affordable and should be more than sufficient for you across most cases that we've seen of COVID in India. If you already have something and you're asking for a question on that, and if you are somebody who doesn't have any existing conditions of comorbidities or any complications that you've had, not major surgeries or illnesses in the past, we should hope that the 5 lakh coverage plus any no claim bonus that you've earned should be enough for most cases.
Okay.
But
All
if you
right.
have a choice, definitely will recommend go for a 1 crore cover because it's fairly affordable today.
All right. So Mr. Gautam Ghosh is saying that he wants to understand. He's 69 plus. I think we took his question. He's messaged again saying, "I'm 69 plus, but will there be any top up or super top up available for me?" Um, is it a possibility, Vedya? Or
There
I?
are there are there are few policies available in the market, but they come with underwriting conditions, given the age, etc.
Okay.
So those will unfortunately be the way for this segment today. While they are available, they will come with underwriting, and should the underwriting be passed with a green signal,
Hmm.
then these options are available.
Okay, but most of them have 60 or
So
65. 60.
65 is a broad limit in the market. It's a fairly open limit in the market that everybody will adhere to. So that obviously creates a lot more option in the market. But there are
Correct.
options available above 65 and will come with underwriting. There are definitely these policies available in the market, and they are available today. We have seen these being continued to be issued in the market, where
Hmm.
insurers are enabling these underwriting to happen, and
Hmm.
fairly good number of customers who are able to cross these underwriting limits are able to buy these policies. So I would
Correct.
recommend this specific customer to go for these.
Correct. Hope that helps, Mr. Gautam. We have another question from Anuj. He says, "If I'm buying health insurance for my senior citizen parents, is the waiting period still 15 days for COVID and cancer?"
Yes. If you're buying a corona specific policy that has been issued today, then they come
Hmm.
with blanket coverage and for all kinds of customers. So there the answer would be yes. If you're looking at a normal health plan that covers COVID as well as everything else that we continue to face uncertainty on and we are exposed to those risks. Then they come with a initial waiting period of 30 days.
Correct.
There is a specific waiting period of up to 2 years for named conditions. You would find these in the policies. These are for conditions like kidney stones, appendix removals, etc. And they are fairly standardized. So today, thanks to the regulators' involvement, so you can look at that list. And for any pre-existing condition, those policies will come with a 4-year waiting period. And by pre-existing conditions, the clarity has again been issued by the regulator. Those are conditions that have been medically diagnosed by a practitioner in the last 48 months preceding to the point of purchase of the policy. So, if in the last 48 months, if this particular customer has been diagnosed by a medical practitioner for any kind
Correct.
of condition, then
Then
they would be called as pre-existing condition, and those specific conditions would be in most policies. There are policies that offer you earlier coverages as well, but if
mm,
I, those are what we call as pre-existing waiting period conditions. On a normal policy, this is 4 years, and they would be covered beyond 4 years. But there are specific options available today where this can be covered earlier. So,
correct. Hope that helps, Anuj. It was a well explained response. We have another question here from Raghu. He says, I have a family health cover for 10 lakhs. I have two kids, one. Okay, sorry. I have one kid. We are two adults. Is it sufficient to take care of COVID and other illnesses?
again, the answer remains the same. If you can afford to and make a new decision, I would recommend you to go for a much larger coverage that is available today of 1 crore. And the premiums would actually be fairly competitive to what you're already paying on your base policy. So if you have the option, please do go for it. That would be the right way to do. But if you do not have that option for various reasons, and we have to take a call on what you have, I would say the 10 lakh is probably where I would say is a bare minimum limit. If you can find a reason to expand, I would recommend you to do so. This is because COVID is an infectious disease. I realize you have 3 members in the family, and being an infectious disease, there are higher chances of many members in the same family getting infected, and that would mean hospitalization for all of you. So depending on your policy conditions, I would say 10 lakh is a bare minimum. It is good that you have a 10 lakh cover. That should kind of at least give a fair amount of assurance. But if you have a chance to increase this, I would definitely recommend you to increase it to at least 1.5 to 2x this limit, because that would be required should hospitalization be the reality for all of you. Of course, all depends on where you stay and what kind of exposure do you have, and any comorbidities that may exist in any of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's another question coming from Atul Malani. He says, I'm a diabetic patient. Will I be eligible to buy a COVID specific health insurance policy that's available in the market?
Yes, the COVID specific plans that were rolled out with the regulators' support and now supported by all insurance in the market cover all kinds of customers. Your pre-existing condition is not a deterrent. All customers up to the age of 65 years are allowed to buy these policies at the specified rates given by each of the insurer. So you would
Hmm.
be eligible. I would definitely recommend you to go and buy these policies.
Correct, correct. We have Suresh Seni. His question is not specific to insurance. It's a good breather actually. He says, "What about the current crisis? Does it worry you? What gives you most hope?" Brother, what would you like to say to this?
Uh, as I said, I probably briefly mentioned this before. We are continuously surrounded by uncertainty. That's a very basic fact of life that we all live in. The COVID has just brought it closer to our face and shown that uncertainty will hit us when we expect it the least. Now, as consumers, as people who live in through this, what are the options we have in our midst? The risks, as we call, are going to continuously exist. Somebody who's been close to insurance for quite a period of time, I would say insurance is probably the right way to kind of protect ourselves against these risks. These risks are not going to go away. We will
Correct.
continue to live through them at any point in time. Today, tomorrow, today it's COVID, tomorrow it's continuously going to be one of the death, disease, and disability in various forms and manifests that will come to us. One way to counter all of this is to have sufficient insurance covers against each of these risks, so that while we cannot probably prevent them from happening, when they do hit us, they probably won't change our position, and they will probably give us enough firepower to come back and keep our standards of living as what they are today. So I would say, in this situation, what is the right way to handle? Be upbeat. Always look forward to the fact that we will all, as a group, find a way to fight through this. There is not the tomorrow is always going to be better, but the only way we are going to secure ourselves in that future is that by making sure that the risks that we face today are all handled in some way. That we don't have to think about it tomorrow when we wake up.
Correct.
Insurance is a great option. All the risks that you can list down today, list down all of them. And each of these risks, find if there is an insurance solution that's available in the market, and make it a point to first buy them, and buy them for as long as you think you will face these risks. And
Correct.
if you do that, I think that at least takes away much of the worry that you may have about what happens in the future, which in itself should give you more bandwidth to focus on how do you get out of this current risk situation that we face. And we
So
should all be sure.
yeah, so basically you should be prepared. You should.
Absolutely right. Use insurance as a nice tool. It's a tool that's been created for this very purpose. Wherever you find an insurance cover that's available against the risk that you foresee, please go and subscribe to it.
Absolutely. Hope that helps, Suresh. A positive ray of hope, basically, we can say. So another question coming in from Abhijit Datta. He says, do regular comprehensive plans cover for global treatment?
As a blanket, they do not. Most policies in the market are not built for global coverages. And I'm saying that as a blanket. I'm using a very clear term here. They are all built for typically Indian coverages. However, there are plans in the market that have also offered this. Specific plans in the market from most key insurers continue to offer global coverages. These are typically opened up at higher denominations, at higher sum insureds, because they come with, if you're going to go for global coverage, obviously it's a higher amount of outgo that we are looking at. So typically they are offered with higher sum insureds. Those plans are available. Specific plans are available that offer global coverage, and they offer global coverage across three phases. So you can find all kinds of plans in the market. There are plans that offer global coverage if you're on a visit and you require a global coverage at that point in time. Basically, an unplanned global coverage when you're outside the boundaries of India. There are plans that offer you that cover. There are second set of plans that give you an ability to go outside India for named illnesses, and these named illnesses are previously defined. So, should you be inside India but you have a situation where you are, facing one of these named illnesses, you can then take permission to go out of India to specific destinations outside that are covered. And there are third kinds of plans that offer a blanket global coverage, where for any kind of illnesses at any point in time, you can go anywhere and they would cover you. All these kinds of plans are available today, and you can subscribe to them.
But the premiums here for the ones that cover global coverage as well will be slightly higher than the normal comprehensive.
Absolutely correct. The global cost, depending on some of the destinations that most of us look for, be it Singapore or USA or Canada or UK, they are all obviously fairly costly destinations for healthcare handling. Obviously, these have to be baked in back into the kinds of premiums you pay. These policies are typically costlier than normal policies. But for those who are willing to have that kind of coverage added, those options are available at the right cost.
Correct. We have another question coming in from Hire Matpi. I'm so sorry if I'm not able to pronounce your name correctly. He asks, how can one expenses will the health insurance policies also cover for post-COVID treatment as well?
Yes, they do. So all COVID policies, all normal health insurance policies are built to handle hospitalization and any pre and post expenses up to certain number of days that come. Your specific policy will have. They can range anywhere from 30 to as high as 180 days, pre and post.
Correct.
So all those coverages are offered. The requirement here, of course, will be that the COVID situation has led to a hospitalization. So that is something that is key. All these policies are somewhere linked to a hospitalization event and consequently will pay for those. So that is the limitation requirement that we have. But they do cover, once there is a hospitalization and therefore the claim is admissible, you can claim anything that was pre or post against this claim.
Correct. So we have the answer there. We have few more questions and we are running out of time. Actually, we'll take few of them. So, Mr. No, we have answered this question as well. Which Anil has to ask, which health policies are available for two adults of 60 years of age? One is diabetic for 10 years and the other is slightly hypersensitive for 5 years.
Understood. I guess hypertensive is what probably they mentioned, but yes.
Yeah, hypertension. Yeah.
There are plethora of options for both the members here. For diabetics today, of course, depends on what kind of level of diabetics you are in. I give a broad guidance here. If you are diabetic, but you're not severely diabetic and you're able to kind of manage your lifestyle to keep all the vitals under check, then most of the health insurance policies in the market are available to you. Some of these will require a bit of underwriting. Many would take simple declarations and will be able to then get these policies issued. All of these options are available on a platform like Policy Bazaar. Please do visit. Now, if you are a slightly higher diabetic, either having to take tablets on a daily basis, or should you be far more severely diabetic, including intake of insulin and etc., then there are specific diabetics plans that are available. Again, there are multiple insurers in the market, right? From, I mean, if I can at least name 3, 4 of them, you have Star, you have Care, you have Aditya Birla, you have Max, and many other insurers who today offer diabetic specific plans where they can offer coverages for your specific needs, because you may be someone who's under heavy usage of insulin and whose blood sugar levels keep fluctuating. They do offer coverages that not just cover you but also offer you support over maintaining your health. For the similar kind of outcome is also for the second member we are talking about, who you have mentioned with hypertension. Again, it's a mild case of hypertension. Many base policies can accommodate you with simple underwriting and should be the best option. For severe cases of hypertension, again, there are specific plans. And these specific plans not just kind of, again, like just like diabetes, not just kind of offer you coverage, but also help provide support to bring that hypertension levels into a more controllable level over a period of time. So all of these options are available, and you should. Your specific need would be a little. One has to look at your specific cases, and you probably should take help of somebody, a platform like Policy Bazaar, to get refinement there.
Correct. So we have a lot of inputs here. All the questions we received have been answered mostly. Mr. Gautam and Diljit, if I heard the name right, read the name right, there are some questions that you've shared. Will be personally mailing out and reaching out to you on the. They have bought policies from Policy Bazaar itself, they say, and they want to understand about few things. So we'll mail you back and reach you out on your numbers that you've mentioned. Thank you, Adya, so much for all the inputs and all the great insights. Actually, this helped me as well to understand the entire insurance dynamics. More so, given COVID, we are all working out of homes. How things are working out on the digital side, it's helped us a lot. We'll come back next Friday, next to next Friday, with another session with some interesting topics. Please mail us your queries, and we'll take more of your queries in that session as well. Thank you, everyone. Do reach out to us when need be.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.